Hello. There are a number of times in C.S. Lewis's Narnia stories that really convey a vision of what it's like for a land to live in freedom and peace and joy, out from under the heavy hand of a tyrant or an oppressor. And today I want to look at the horse and his boy in particular. Now, to set the scene, the war horse, Bree Hinny Brinny Huya, or Bree for short, and the mare, Hwyn, are on the run from slavery in the oppressive land of Calaman, along with the youngsters Shasta and Aravis. And their goal is to join the freeborn peoples of the north. Aravis is fleeing a forced marriage to an ugly old suitor, and Shasta is escaping from being sold to an even more brutal owner than the one he already has. It's pretty much like the ancient story of Exodus from Egypt and arrival in the Promised Land, which here is the land of free Narnians, as Bree calls them. There's even a parallel to the desert wandering of the Israelites as they trudge across the merciless desert towards Narnia and their own version of the Promised Land. For Shasta, though, he doesn't realise it. It's nothing so much as a return home. It's a story of freedom and homecoming. Joy just shimmers through it. And Shasta catches a wonderful glimpse of the joy of freedom when he sees a group of Narnians on a street in the Calaman city of Tashban. And it's obvious even in the way that they walk. If you ever want a lesson in how to walk down the streets, then listen to this. They walked with a swing and let their arms and shoulders go free and chatted and laughed. One was whistling. You could see they were ready to be friends with anyone who was friendly and didn't give a fig for anyone who wasn't. Shasta thought he'd never seen anything so lovely in his life. The joy erupts, you see, even in the physical freedom and ease of their bodies and the way they walk. It's a very attractive thing. Shasta's upbringing previously in the cottage of the fisherman Ashish has been joyless and loveless, full of toil and beatings, and he was about to be sold again as a slave to a cruel master before he ran away. But inside the Narnian's apartment in Tashban, Shasta witnesses a different way of being and behaving, a way of living with honour and with kindness, and again it erupts almost physically. He sees the merriment of Mr. Tumnus dancing for glee with Queen Susan. And he delights in listing the exotic summer foods that they set before him. I talked last week about how Mr. Tumnus brings the food in, half dancing. And Mr. Tumnus goes on chatting away to Shasta as he eats and telling him to rest because he's mistaken him for the son of King Loon. It's nothing like Shasta's ever been used to. And his companion, Aravis, is also attracted to Narnia because there her horse Hwyn tells her no girl is compelled to marry against her will. And there are many adventures along the way, and Shasta and Aravis and the two horses have to struggle across the desert under terrible heat. And there's joy of another kind when they eventually reach a valley where they find at last the cool beauty of a river and wide pools and cascades of water. Oh, says Shasta, and plunged in. It was about up to his knees, and stooped his head right into the cataract. It was perhaps the loveliest moment in his life. It's really nothing short of a baptismal moment at this point of transition from the old life to the new, from Calaman and the dry, scalding sands of the desert to the lush and verdant lands of the north. It's crossing the River Jordan into the Promised Land, in effect. And the loveliness continues with lush grass and shrubs and cool fragrances and bright moonlight and the song of a nightingale. It's a sacred moment in the tale. And after the torment of the desert, refreshment and beauty and rest at last are theirs. And later on, Shasta hikes down on his own into the sweet valleys of Narnia, and he meets all manner of talking creatures, hedgehogs, rabbits, squirrels, as well as some friendly, bustling dwarfs, all of them exhibiting a beautiful innocence and settled happiness in a land at peace. The story's set in the golden age of Narnia under the kings and queens at Cair Paravel after the defeat of the White Witch in her winter. And it says The smaller woodland people of Narnia were so safe and happy that they were getting a little careless. And Shasta is met time and again in the story with kindness. The Horse and His Boy is, if nothing else, a story of kindnesses. It's a little foretaste of the peaceable kingdom, the land of righteousness. We get similar glimpses in parts of Prince Caspian. Bree had called it the happy land of Narnia, longing for it with almost biblical language when he says, "Oh, the sweet air of Narnia. An hour's life there is better than 1,000 years in Calamon." The psalmist, you remember, had said, "Better one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked." After the ongoing freedom of Narnia has been secured, justice and mercy has been meted out, the end of the story's filled with homecomings and reunions and great feasting and entertainments on the castle lawn by moonlight, and ultimately marriages, in this case multiple marriages, like a Shakespearean comedy. So in a way, it all ends in love.